find that ability, but you have to love what you do. If you love what you do, you're going to be, at least you have a good chance of being successful.
Mr. President, it's almost time for an early dinner. So if you are throwing a dinner party and you can invite 3 fascinating guests, living or dead, who would you bring?
Well, they're all sitting right in the front row. Yasser, are you ready? Mohammed, are you ready? Steve Witkoff, and we have the most important person, at least until the World Cup is over, is here. Johnny, stand up. He gave the United States the World Cup. Johnny, thank you very much. I didn't know you were here. That's very good. He's the king of soccer. That's not bad. And you've done a fantastic job. You know, but it's very interesting. When I was president, I got the World Cup. And I got all of the, we have the 250 anniversary, so that fell in this administration. That's a big deal, 250 years. But we have all of these things happening, and I also got the Olympics. And I was called by the mayor of Los Angeles, sir, would you call up the Olympic Committee, because it was at that time President Obama will not take their phone call, and we're going to get the Olympics in Los Angeles. And by the way, they've recommitted to Los Angeles at a level that, I was very worried about that. And they've, the opposite, somebody could have said, well, we're going to do it someplace else, until they have actually recommitted. They're going to make it bigger and better than ever. So I want to let you know that. But I had the Olympics. So I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and I said, and the 250, but that one I didn't get. But it was there, it was in this term. And I ran an election, and we did fantastic in 2016. We did much better, millions and millions, tens of millions, but millions and millions of votes better. And bad things happened, and I didn't get that one. And I said, when I originally signed the Olympics, I said, I won't be able to even be president. And I got the Olympics, because if I didn't, when I spoke with the people, the organizing committee and the people in different parts of the world, they asked me to do it because the president wouldn't do it. I was president-elect, and I gave them a talk. I couldn't get them off the phone. They were starving for love. And the bottom line, they gave us the Olympics. And I said, isn't it sad I won't be president? Then we had the election result, and now I'm president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So I'm very happy about that, Johnny. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll be there. I promise I'll be there.
And by the way, Mr. President, backstage you have a gift from Johnny. He gave us the first ball with your name, which will be played for the World Cup.
That's great.
In America.
It's going to be great. Thank you, Johnny, very much.
I doubt that any day you will take a sabbatical year, but if you could take a sabbatical year, Mr. President, what unconventional thing would you do?
What was the word?
Sabbatical. You don't work for 1 year.
I thought you said Sabbath. It's a big difference. It's almost the opposite when you think about it, right? I think what I do is, look, what I'm doing now is the most exciting job in the world. It's a hard job, not an easy job. It's a nasty job. It could be a lot easier with, I think that the news media has to straighten themselves out, because people are getting it. They're losing tremendous popularity, and they've lost their prestige, and they've lost their credibility. And I think it's a very important thing, the news media, but I think they have to straighten themselves out, because the people are going around them now. They have so many different things with, like Elon with X, which was a big thing, and we have Truth, which has been fantastic, and we have so many other things that you don't really need traditional. But I will tell you that there is just nothing I could do to enjoy my life, whether it's that or anything else that you'd ask, because this is the ultimate. I had to make a big decision, and it was a very risky decision, because if I would have lost, my life would have been a much different life. It would have been a very nasty life. They were going after me at levels that nobody's ever seen before. Not Andrew Jackson, not Abraham Lincoln. The historians say that the president that was treated the worst by far by the media and overall was Andrew Jackson. In fact, his wife died of heartbreak. They were treated really rough. And Abraham Lincoln was second, but he had a civil war. You can understand that. But nobody was treated like me, nobody. And I will tell you, you learn a lot about yourself. But there's nothing I'd rather do. I had to make a decision, do I do this? Because if I lost, it would have been very, very bad. It was dangerous, actually, very dangerous in so many different ways. And I decided to do it. And I said, I have to win, because if I don't, when I spoke to a friend of mine the other night, he said, if you lost, it would have been It was actually Sean Hannity just before we did the interview last night. He said, boy, if you would have lost, you would have had a tough life. You would have had a very tough life. So there was a certain amount of courage involved in this decision to run, and it's a great honor to win by this much, to win all 7 swing states, the popular vote. Popular vote doesn't get won that much by Republicans for whatever reason. I think that's changing because, again, we're the party of common sense, and they're the party of some real bad things, and I think they'll change. I think they have to change. It would be wonderful. I'm going to be having lunch with some of the Democrats next week, and it would be wonderful if we could work together. I think working together would be great. But they have to change. You can't get elected on the programs that they want, and that's really what America wants to see. So there's nothing I'd rather do than what I'm doing right now.
When we started this conference, Mr. President, Yasser and I, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince told us, I want that to be the place where people will come to understand where to invest in terms of geographies and sector. So what is the best investment you have made in your personal growth, Mr. President?
Well, I was involved in real estate from most of my life, and was guys like Witkoff will tell you I was really good at it, and I was successful at it, very successful at it. I've been involved in things prior to being president, but during the last 4 years, I followed sort of the trends, and I've made a lot of money with following some of these trends. And it's again, it's something that you do. I really believe that some people have instinct. I think I've always had an instinct for making money. I make money. And I went into show business. I had one of the most successful shows on television. I wrote books, and they were all bestsellers. Virtually every book was a big bestseller, some really big bestsellers. And so I don't know, it's whatever I do, I just want to make it successful. It's very important to me. There are many ways to make money. You can be in many different fields. And a lot of them is being in the right country. If you're in a certain country, our country is actually getting very bad, a very dangerous place, actually. Bad things were happening. But if you're in a certain country, you have a chance to do well. And no matter how good you are, if you were born into the wrong country, you're not going to make money. Now, you can do other things. You can attain power, I guess. Maybe it's the wrong kind of power, but it's power. But being in the right country, where you have the right incentives and, entrepreneurship, et cetera, and America has always been sort of at the top, or one of the top, but always pretty much at the top. But it was losing that position, and I think losing it rapidly. This last administration, look, I don't want to be, I wish I could say, I wouldn't have run. If I thought Biden was doing a good job, if I thought I wouldn't have run. Because as I said, it was very dangerous to run in a lot of ways. In fact, my ear will show that when you look at it closely. My ear, I have that throbbing feeling every once in a while, but it was dangerous in a lot of different ways. But he was so bad that I had no choice but to do it. If I thought he was doing a great job, I wouldn't have run, and I would be very happy. I actually wanted him to do a good job. I was saying, do this, do that. I'm telling them, do things. They should have done what I said. And but I would have been very happy not to have run, and frankly to have seen somebody do a good job. But our country was going to hell, and I really sort of had to run.
If you were a historical ruler, would you prefer to rule during war or peace?
Well, I want to be, again, a peacemaker, and I want to keep us out of war. But sometimes to do that, you have to have a very strong country. You have to have a very strong military. And as I said, we have a much stronger military than anyone would know. We have the best equipment. And I bought a lot of it. I rebuilt our military in the first 4 years. I rebuilt it. We gave a lot of it away to Afghanistan, to the Taliban, stupidly, but that's a very small amount relative. It was billions and billions, but it's still a very small amount relatively to what we built. But I largely rebuilt our military. Now I'm going to have to do it again because so much has been given away, so much has been treated so badly. But to keep peace, you really have to, I have a thing, strength through, and I mean it, you really have it. You have strength, and you need the strength, but it's really peace through strength, because without the strength, it's going to be very hard to have peace, because you're going to be taken over, bad things are going to happen, so you really want to have peace through strength, and that's where I've been. Having strength, having power in that sense to protect yourself and your people is a very important thing. hopefully you don't have to use that power. I will tell you, I was dealing with President Putin very successfully on denuclearization. We were talking about it very seriously, and then COVID came and lots of things came, and we had also talked to China about it. Now, Russia and us have the biggest nuclear by far. China is not close, but they will be close. In 3 or 4 years or 5 years, they'll be equal. But we were going to talk to China, and I spoke to President Xi about it very successfully. I think we were going to denuclearize it. We had to get the smaller nuclear powers, of which there are 4, 3 maybe, but 4 probably, to do something. We would have been able to do that. But I was having very strong talks with President Putin about denuclearization. And, you know, if you're president, you get presentations about what we're building, what we're having, the power of weapons, the power of many things besides weapons per se. When I saw the power of nuclear weapons, and we can never let that happen. If that happens, the ball game will be, the world will be destroyed. The power is so enormous. You look at Hiroshima, you look at Nagasaki, multiply that times 500 times, and the world would be destroyed. So you want somebody as your president, or you want somebody as your leader that